New video by Bellular News. Let's take a look.
Okay, let's talk about the $100 elephant in the room, because the internet is wrestling with a rumor that feels rather shocking that Grand Theft Auto 6 may launch with a $100 RRP
Yeah, kind of crazy,
price tag,
not gonna lie.
right? That's the box price of the game. And your gut reaction is probably the same as mine. That's bullshit. That's too
That's
much.
a lot of money, no?
And that is fair. But this story actually goes a bit deeper than just the sticker shock, because we've actually been here before. Back in 2023, there were unsubstantiated rumors that had people worried about a $150 price point for GTA 6.
That would be crazy. I don't think anyone would buy a $150 game.
Materialize. But this time it's based on an analyst sharing his TLDR of private discussions that he says are actually happening amongst people in the AAA sector. $150 was obviously absurd, but $100, well, that's
Hey,
not
Florida.
really as absurd, especially coming from Take-Two Interactive. So the anxiety that people have is not a baseless thing, and again, that is Take-Two's fault, but not just what they're known for recently, like say Grand Theft Auto 5 not having narrative DLC because it doesn't pay in comparison to shark cards, the Zynga acquisition,
Feels
horrible
freaking bad,
sports game monetization, and all of that stuff. No, it's because Take-Two are the very company who led the charge on the increase from $60 to $70 as the AAA standard. But here's where it gets more complicated. You and I may be adamantly opposed to paying $100, but many people obviously are not, because deluxe edition, season passes, premium bundles, all of those things. We also
but it's a
know
base
the
game.
AAA budgets
It's
are kind
$100.
of ballooning, and it's not just the big evil corpo types that are saying this. This is a pretty glib tweet that came from Larian's publishing director. Obviously, he's poking the thing with a stick, but he did tweet, "You're not supposed to say this out loud." The point is, actually, this is kind of what they're all thinking. So let's get into the story. What kicks it off is this. It's Matthew.
I mean, right? Kind of makes sense. Why charge $60 when you can charge $70 and hope that people will keep buying it? Do small increments like 50, 60, 70. Or sorry, 60, 70, 80 maybe. And then one great game, one huge game is going to be like $100, and then people will be like, you know, our game, it used to be a $60 game, it's now going to be $80 because the costs are higher or whatever, and that's just basically how it's going to go. Kind of sad, but we'll see how gamers and everyone else is going to react.
Ball's State of Gaming 2025 report, and it suggests that some players in the industry are quietly hoping for Rockstar to break the $70 ceiling. Of course, not just for themselves, but to trigger an industry-wide price reset. Basically,
I don't think people will do it.
$50 up to 60, 60 to 70, all the way up the chain. And this is obviously not just analyst speculation. Whenever Larian's publishing director effectively, confirmed it with a cheeky, "You're not supposed to say that out loud," he was really just reiterating a point that he also made last August when he...
Almost all games should cost more at the base level because the cost of making them inflation for one is outpacing pricing trends. But I don't think we'll get there with the DLC promises so much as quality communication. Everybody's just waiting for GTA 6 to do it. I guess that kind of makes sense. But what if you just make a good game and you don't spend as much money on like random shit? It doesn't matter, no? Well, we'll see.
He talked about rising development costs and inflation as well. But of course, he gets to say that from the position of selling people Baldur's Gate 3. That's a game with such an absurd value proposition that it still has 24-hour peaks of 75k on Steam.
Imagine if Concord or anywhere else, any other game that failed came close to this. Then they could talk, but like, it's kind of crazy. It's been what, a year almost? Came out on August, so it's been like half a year. Still, so many people are playing it. Like 100k people keep playing it a lot of time. Kind of crazy.
Steam. I mean, if you were to pay $100 for Baldur's Gate 3, but you're still playing it a year and a half on, that's certainly more value than most AAAs are giving you. But it's not just him. This point is cropping up everywhere. As an example, Capcom's president just recently at Tokyo Game Show talked about development costs exploding, quote, 100 times higher since the Famicom days. Now, obviously, this was not him saying, games cost $50 in the Famicom. Okay. We need to charge people $5,000 for games. No, he's not saying that because games sell so many more copies now, but there is a point there that he's making, and it's rather funny considering one of the older rumors, because paying $50 for a game in 1985 is the equivalent of $145.70 in today's money, which, funnily enough, is near that original GTA rumor and is not so far away from...
But the thing is, like, so many companies, you only have so limited amount of money as like a normal Joe, or like imagine you just have like $100 to spend every month on like things you like. You spend like maybe $30, $40 on like, I don't even know, like going out to eat. Basically go to eat once. And then you're like, okay, so I have a decision to make. Do I want to go out to eat one more time? Like eat out with friends? Or do I buy a game? And then I pray to God that this game is actually going to be worth the $60 that I spent to it, or not. Or if I like, I spend $60, it becomes a flop, it's a buggy mess, and then I spend like 10 hours into it, that'll be $4, sorry, 10 hours, that'll be $6 an hour. That would not really be worth it, at least personally speaking. But so like, and then let's say there's 3 or 4 games, AAA games that come out for a given month. So you're trying to decide, okay, I can only spend on one game, at max, and then it's just kind of a pain. I think it's gonna be unfortunate for the gaming industry. A lot of the people, like, there's gonna be less sales. At least that is my what's it called? That is my expectation, and prediction. But let me know what you guys think about it.
From some digital collectors.
Am I just completely wrong,
to
or
take
what?
it to Grand Theft Auto, then, it's going to be one of the most expensive games ever made. It will be absurdly huge. Some people will say that that justifies a price hike, that this is basically Rockstar's excuse to nudge everything up by $10 for the whole industry. But Grand Theft Auto is not your typical game. Rockstar is operating in a completely different universe. Their shark card revenue is so substantial that another analyst, Daniel Ahmad, suggests that actually they could lower the price point of GTA 6 just for the sake of building up the GTA Online player base to sell more shark cards. The point basically is they're in that rare tier along with Call of Duty where they can just spend $700 million in a game and be completely
fine, yeah.
justified.
Correct.
We actually covered it in this video a little bit ago. Now, no one seriously thinks that Grand Theft Auto needs to be $100 a pop to be financially viable. But what we all do, I think, trust is Take-Two's desire for more money. Because obviously they want that. And the industry's desire for Take-Two to be the thin end of the wedge, for them to take the hit so everybody else can charge $80 without having a PR shitstorm.
Kind of crazy to think about it.
Justified worry because it happened before. You know, it really is remarkable how quickly the $70 price point solidified, and when that happened, Take-Two led the charge. Then PlayStation's first-party titles followed suit, and the strategy was pretty damn simple. They used next-gen consoles as their cover for the increase, and even Nintendo eventually joined in. They leveraged as well Tears of the Kingdom's massive hype to push their own prices up.
Thankfully for me, I was in Japan at that time when it came out, and without tax, I was able to buy it without taxes, and it came out to like, with the conversion rate and such, it came out to be like $50 for a $70 game, which is nice. But I still haven't opened the game. I haven't played it at all, which is crazy. I just like haven't played my Switch in such a long time. I need to go back to it. I haven't finished the first Zelda game. I need to do that first, and then I can do Tears of the Kingdom.
But actually, here's where it gets kind of interesting. Not everybody could even make that work. Take Redfall, right? It completely face-planted at $70. Let's be real, it would have face-planted at just about anything else. But I bring it up because when analysts started to notice quick discounts on $70 games, they questioned Strauss Zelnick. Strauss is, by the way, the CEO of Take-Two. He's quite the fellow, sort of vampire daddy energy. Anyway, his response was rather telling. He said, "We're not seeing pushback." Now, the emphasis on we're is on our half, or our behalf, right? So it's not like he said, well, we aren't seeing a pushback, but literally he did say, we're not seeing a pushback. And I think there's a big point there. The reality is that certain publishers like Take-Two, like Capcom, PlayStation, they can command those prices because of their track record and game quality. I mean, Monster Hunter Wilds, that's going to share the same RRP as Redfall, which is a bit ridiculous when you think about them. Actually, this has gotten to the point where Saber Interactive's CEO, I'm talking about Space Marine 2, said that they actually felt they had to price their game at $70 because they feared that players would see anything lower as a red flag for quality.
I would disagree, because a $40 Helldivers 2 was freaking amazing. And like tons of AA games or like indie games are around like 20 or I guess $10 to $30 ish price, and they're amazing too. So I don't know.
And his point actually does make sense for consumer psychology. In a world where an audience expects $70, if you publish your game at $60, people will then assume that that's you admitting that you're actually not able to command what the industry now sees as a full price. Right? So it is basic sales psychology here. Now, yes, in a world where every customer is a fully informed, dispassionate, rational actor, well, I think the entire global economy would look rather different.
Yeah,
the reality is
we don't have that,
humans,
unfortunately.
we're emotional, we're not always rational, and we are prone to fun psychological biases. So in a world with a $70 standard, if one game is 60, people will begin to think, why is it 60? There must be...
I don't know, I've never really played any of sports games at all. I've never played like Madden or any of the basketball games. I did play, I believe, FIFA, like 2010, 2012, whatever it was. That was fun. But have you guys ever, like, if you guys ever are into those games, how do you justify like buying a next installment? Let's say FIFA 2021 versus FIFA 2022. Is that even a thing? I'm not sure if FIFA is still there, but how do you justify buying it? It's just like a new thing because it looks very similar. There's not, personally speaking, from what I've seen, there's not much improvements and stuff, but let me know. I'm kind of curious about that.
Be a reason why it's
is it like
not
every 2 years,
default. That
3 years, etc. upgrade?
Well, that adds in some ambiguity, and that means you're less likely to make the sale. And the upshots are fascinating. Capcom are going to make more money than ever with the new Monster Hunter, but we are seeing these discounts being piled on faster than ever. But a 20% discount on a $70 game is actually more revenue than a 20% discount on a $60 game, but it still has the psychological benefits of a 20% discount. So it still works, and this serves to defend everybody's margin within the industry, which certainly goes back to Matthew Ball's point about the whole industry wanting a $10 increase to cascade up. But actually, there's something we've missed. We're already well past $70. It's time to enter the big thing to mention. So,
complete edition, whatever else.
Objectively, right? Based on its input costs plus some margin. Or do you think something is valued based on what someone in the real market is willing to pay for it?
I think it's willing to
very
pay.
Least for things that we experience like art, it's the latter, right? That's why millions of people buy games above that $69.99 RRP. The $100 price tag that kicked off this whole discussion has already happened. It just has happened indirectly because
complete editions,
that $10 price rise from
DLCs, whatever else,
$60 to $70. Well, $69.99 of today's dollars is in fact worth $57.75 in 2020's dollars. Yeah, inflation's a bitch. That's why Space Marine 2 had masses of people paying $30 extra to have some cosmetics, and I think most importantly, advanced access. Just about every major game these days does advanced access. Obviously, it's more money.
3-day or a week access.
Publishers have found
you get free money.
They know that people who buy a game on day one are price insensitive compared to the average customer because they're the people who still buy games on day one with full knowledge that deep discounts still do happen in the industry. And that means that they are the very people who you can laser target with premium advanced access. And
premium edition, play the game 2 hours early from release starts in approximately 3 months. Makes sense. And then I hope premium edition has a lot of other things, but yeah, that's how it works. A lot of streamers do it, I know, because that's their how they make their money is if they don't stream a specific game, like a new thing, people don't watch, or if they play it on release, people are not as interested, so they have less revenue, etc.
In a way, we know part of the reason why. Budgets are indeed exploding.
Or like
Spider-Man 1 was set to cost like $100 million. Its sequel that came out just 5 years later cost $315 million. Which, by the way, you can't just put down to inflation. It's also an industry-wide trend that I'll be diving into soon on the channel. But for now, I want you to check this out. This is from Matthew's report, and it's the RRP of Grand Theft Auto games from 1997, and it shows nominal price and inflation-adjusted price. It's kind of funny because Grand Theft Auto 1 would cost $100 in today's money. It almost fits the story too well. But if you look at this graph, you see that it actually does not
Yeah, but
tell
it's
the
way
full
less
story,
accessible.
not
No?
even close. Because it would be disingenuous to look at that and think, oh, Strauss Zelnick and the lovely people at Take-Two Interactive have protected me against inflation by not hiking their prices even more. That is obviously not the case because that's not their business model. To just take that chart would be to omit shark cards and everything else that goes on. Because the move
Yep,
from
I think they made more
60 to
money
70
on
was
this
not
than
enough.
sales.
It was just part of a whole
kinda crazy.
stack of measures to increase revenue per customer without going so hard that it sparks deep outrage. But here's the customer without
10% hike for Gen 9 titles, lost all real value in only 29 months. As in, like, the prices, you can see it, sorry. Yeah. 10%, okay. Interesting.
going so hard that it sparks deep outrage. But here's the thing, this distortion will hurt them. And within Matthew's report is a rather shocking thing about consumer spending. By now, I think most of us agree that a $100 RRP largely wouldn't work because
psychology.
customers would just reject it and wouldn't see it as a good value. And that's because the large upfront purchase is the more psychologically expensive way to get some money. That's why you've got the upcharges and the microtransactions growing over time. Those are just little cuts here and there. So not only is this, for all of the reasons that we know, but there's a deeper hidden sort of reason and risk here. And it's one we're about to face. Imagine Grand Theft Auto 6 ends up costing $80. Now compare that to, say, some skin bundles. It's the cost of a few skins for a Grand Theft Auto. Now for Grand Theft Auto, Daniel Ahmad is right. The RRP tweaks that Take-Two can make will pale in comparison to shark cards over the life of that game. And that brings me to the big risk here. Our perception of value. Because when you can buy a game that costs over $500 million to make for the price of a few skins in some other game, what does that say about value? What are we paying for? Are we even paying for content now? And here's the data to ram that home. This is worldwide consumer spending in real terms.
Real terms, okay, and then let me remove me so we can see it better. Okay, arcade VR, yeah, it's huge pricing. Consumer real spending, okay. Mobile is in the bottom. Got PC, handheld, console. The auto companion. So this is when in 2013 the companion came out, which is the idea for Battle Pass, which is amazing to be fair. The amount of skins you would get in Dota, if you like put in some money, it was amazing. But then it gradually started to get worse and worse. But it's kind of interesting.
Killer in real terms. And what we see is that even with games as money desperate as they seem to be in many cases, the spending is shockingly flat. RRP matters less. But if you look at all of the money that's being spent, well, it's not massively growing.
It's mostly like DLCs, cosmetics, etc. that make like almost the same amount of money, if not more, for a lot of games. Especially for like GTA. It's kind of crazy. GTA 5, I think, yeah, as I mentioned before, they made more money on shark cards than they made on the actual sale of the game. That's why they sell the game a lot, like sales and stuff. This is how they get you in. Kind of like with drugs. This is how they get you in by a very low amount. And then you just have to stay in there and be willing to purchase those shark cards, those new cars, etc. Yeah.
And what you basically realize is the money being spent is going less and less into content and more into upcharges and microtransactions.
Yep.
It seems that, again, in real terms, everybody is fighting for a roughly similar number of dollars, your dollars, and that pool of dollars doesn't seem to be going up as quickly as game budgets are, which means that, well, on balance, more of those dollars are going into what I would call low-value upcharges like skins and not game content, which is a problem if you're here for actual video games.
Exactly.
Now to bring it back to Larian, Baldur's Gate 3 is not full of upcharges and bullshit. The $70 games that it competes against, though, often are full of that bullshit. And, of course, those are, the big traditional AAA publisher titles.
Look, spoilers, I haven't finished the game yet. I gotta close my eyes.
works for them, right? Those big AAAs, because they can monetize in so many other ways with your advanced access, all of your different bundles and your currencies and all of that stuff.
A Ultimate Edition. Wait, what would it include?
Advanced access, all of your different bundles and your.
Okay. We got the World of Warcraft mount, right? We got wings, a horse, a skin set, a wing set, and then you get open early beta, and then the horse as well.
Nice. And all of that stuff. But if you're fighting those companies to make a AAA quality game, like say Larian would be doing, and you're targeting $70, but you're foregoing all of the other ways that those companies earn money on top of the $70, then you are at a disadvantage for not taking up those tactics. And that's bad. Even beloved games like Space Marine 2 feel the need to do the very expensive premium advanced access. And that's the real point here. The unit economics, the business models, those shape what sorts of games get made. And that matters if you care about games as an art form. I mean, that's why Grand Theft Auto 5 did not have narrative DLC. And looking around the industry, it's probably why we've seen a string of AAA single-player narrative studios die. It's why back in the day, we would actually get plenty of narrative DLCs for games, but nowadays, that just doesn't really seem to be the thing that happens anymore.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
What's harder? Spending untold millions for the chance to sell a new creative $70 game, or just pumping out more $15 to $25 skins to sell to the people you already know you have in the game you've already made? So I guess the question then is, what's going to happen? Well, first, I hate to break it to you, but I can't tell the future. What I will say is I don't think the Grand Theft Auto 6 will cost $100. But I think the early...
I would say it could be like even $70. Just because they can make so much money on the... I mean, maybe $70 or $80. Because they would get so much money on the shark cards with the GTA Online. So, and then so many people will buy it regardless. That they would definitely make profit. Unless the game is like really unplayable and stuff. I think there will be... people will be willing to play $80 to even $90 maybe. Because it's such a hype game, but I think they'll probably set it 70, 80. What do you guys think?
Early access edition might.
What's going to be your the money you'll be willing to spend for it, and what do you think is going to actually be costing?
I mean, the most hyped game for at least a lot of people of this entire decade. So if they do decide to, say, have a $30 more expensive advanced access day one edition, yeah, it'll cost $100 for sure. Now, if the game ended up having an $80 RRP, right, a $10 increase, that wouldn't really surprise me. Industry-wide, though, would the AAAs like $100? Would they be happy with 80?
Why not?
Absolutely.
The heck?
But here's the real point and the disingenuous thing that I see. Yes, industry-wide, the AAAs would love $100. They love $80. They love anything that goes up. And in so many cases, the prime argument will be inflation eroding the dollar, so the price has got to go up. And to a degree, yeah, there's a fair argument there. But it does miss other factors that matter. How much are we paying for their own failures of efficiency, their own cost controls, their own stupid bets on 6-year massive live service?
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm glad that this game didn't last long, just because it seems like it's trash. It's like low quality, and it was bad timing as well. But you know, I just hope companies make good games, but at the same time, companies need to make money, so they are trying to balance between making a lot of money and pleasing the customer, or versus pleasing the customer, basically. Hopefully, there's a bit more companies, kind of like Larian, where they prioritize the customer first. But I mean, of course, I think Larian could have made way more money as well by having like DLCs or some sort of outfits that are really cool. But I think they have modding instead, and they decided not to do that because they respect people, which is really cool. It's just I hope that they got at least enough money to pay for the game, plus get some more money for bonuses or other making out of the games.
Service titles that cost stupid millions of dollars like Suicide Squad, just as one example. And most importantly of all, how, yes, they may say, well, gamers, back in 2008, if you spent $60 in a game, that's like 87.40 of today's dollars, so you should be paying $90 for a game today. So, do you know what that doesn't really get? I mean, number one, we could talk about median wages not keeping up with inflation, but we could also talk about how, You know, back in 2008, when I bought a game, by and large, I bought
got
the
a
whole
full
game,
access.
and that
Yep,
was kind of that.
exactly.
Nowadays, that same amount of money, that $69.99, it's getting you a game, but it's also getting you a gateway to a digital storefront that wants even more money. So yes, inflation has happened, but let's not pretend that that's the only thing that's going on within the games that we're being asked to buy. And look, it's fun to short call, it's fun to analyze. The thing I care about at the end of the day, the most, is that we get good games that have got like real value as like bits of art, bits of experience, the sorts of things that leave players better than they found them, not just kind of infinite Skinner box slop games. And more, I think the unit economics of the business are not supporting that. So caring about games as a medium, I do see this as really quite a depressing risk. That being said, there's a AAA company on our radar who are very much planning to make, well, the sorts of games that we would want succeed. They're called Remedy. And to understand that story in the context of exploding game budgets,
Destiny one?
Check out this video next.
Studio? Let me check. Remedy Studio. What games? Control, Alan Wake, Max Payne. Okay, that makes sense. I hope they succeed. Yeah, that's about it. What do you guys think about the video? Do you think that the GTA is gonna be $100, $80, $90, $70, maybe even $60? Kind of though about $60 though. I would say like 70 to 80 perhaps. And tons of people will still buy it. And maybe for like the 3 days before, 3-day early version is gonna be 100. Yeah. So let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.